Guys, we're live. It's Dr. Foster. How are you? Um, Today, something very interesting happened with one of my customers, and she had cut her finger really deep, and I had done it about a week before, and she didn't want to go to the ER. She didn't want to go to the doctors because she's one of those people that does not like the idea of getting a shot there. And if you go into the hospital, that's the first thing they do. They go, are your shots up to date? So they will give you a tetanus shot, and they will probably give you the new experimental valve. So I hope this is working. Is anybody out there? Ah, good. Somebody's there. Yay. Okay. Hi. So if everybody knows me, I'm Dr. Foster. I'm a conventionally trained medical doctor. There's my diploma back there. I go because I had epilepsy, 2 seizures a day, 4 years. I had to use alternative medicine to completely cure myself permanently, completely make those go away. So I've been studying herbs and using herbs with my patients for about 20 years now. So when things like this come up, sometimes people are afraid to go to the doctor. I want to tell you what to do with herbs to stop the bleeding, save your life, get you to calm down and regrow tissue. So that's what we're going to talk about today. There's 3 parts to today's talk, and then at the end I can answer any questions, anything about this topic or anything else that you want to ask. The first part is, we might just wait for a couple more. Come on. Hi, Glenda and Minda Land. Hi, nice to see you. We're going to talk about stopping the bleeding, various ways to stop the bleeding. We're going to talk about infection control, so how to control infection. So after you've cut it, what to do to take care of it so it doesn't get infected. Without the antibiotic creams, without putting that toxic chemicals on your hand, your finger, your foot, or whatever you did. I did it with a mandolin. This one's almost completely healed, and the person that texted me today, and she said she had done it with her mandolin. So things can happen in the kitchen, and there are big knives and lots of sharp things there, and lots of ways that you can hurt yourself, and I've done it before, a lot. And then once you've disinfected it and everything, what to do to grow back what you did. So when I cut mine, there was a flap there. And today this lady said, I'm too afraid to look at it because what I did was so bad. So in those cases, in these emergency sort of situations, you kind of have to. For today, so maybe you want to just like put that in your first aid kit. I'm going to go through various remedies that I have here and show you how to use those in case you accidentally cut yourself deep or you do something else traumatic, and at the very least, these will be herbs that will stabilize you. All right, so let's go into it. I think we've got 2. Oh no, we've got 4. Okay, great. So I'm going to start by telling you how to stop bleeding. Some of these things you may actually have on hand. Witch hazel. So I've got witch hazel extract here, and if you will put that on like a cotton ball or gauze or anything like that, and just put that on there, that will work. Let's say you don't have that, but maybe you've got some hot chili pepper powder. So hot chili peppers work to stop bleeding. So I've used the powder, I've used the tincture. I've got a tincture right here. It's Dr. Foster's Essentials. I did it once with a friend of mine who was in the kitchen, and he cut his finger, and I just grabbed the first thing, and it was Cayenne powder, and I put it on his finger. It's super intense when you use the Cayenne, but literally within like 30 seconds that thing can seal shut if you have a good fresh hot chili pepper powder, which is exactly what happened. He looked at it and he just went, what just happened? It's sealed, literally it's sealed, like he couldn't open it again. So those are some amazing things that can happen, especially if you have a good fresh remedy. I like to use these extracts because they don't ever go bad. So the alcohol preserves them. You can put them in your first aid kit. You can put them in your medicine cabinet to use for whenever some kind of emergency arises. So the Cayenne works. If you've got a lot of bleeding, take the Cayenne by mouth. So just take it, with some water or any sort of beverage that you have. The great thing about the alcohol in these things is that alcohol absorbs super fast from your stomach. So it's one of the 4 substances that doctors know that absorbs directly from your stomach. So it'll go to work fast. And if you've got an emergency, you want something that works super fast within minutes. So you've got the Cayenne to stop bleeding. Witch hazel is what we call an astringent herb. So an astringent herb can stop bleeding. It also pulls tissue tighter, right? So you want to pull that thing back together that you did, right? What else do we have? So in case you have formula, there's some other formula here, and eyebright is also an astringent herb. So what would you do? To use that? So maybe you've got a Band-Aid or something. You just would put a couple drops directly on the pad of the Band-Aid, and you would just wrap it around your finger or your arm or whatever you cut. So that's a simple way of doing it. If I don't want to look at it, it's kind of scary. I did this last week. I know I cut it really deep and I'm too scared to look at it. So I'm going to just like immediately, put some witch hazel on it, stop the bleeding, and just wrap it up. Now sometimes you can have bleeding that's really profuse or intense. I remember one time I was doing laundry and I leaned down and there was a cabinet door open above my head, and I stood up really fast and boom, that corner hit my scalp, and that thing took like 20 minutes to stop that bleeding. It scared me a lot, and finally I remembered ice stops bleeding. The scalp can really bleed a lot, and that can be kind of scary. And if that happens and you don't know where your herbs are, whatever, just reach into your freezer and grab some ice and put it on there or put it on your finger, and that also will stop bleeding. Just remember, cold constricts. So it's 2 C's. Cold constricts and stops bleeding. You can also, like if you've cut your finger or your hand, you raise that arm up because you want to get it higher than your heart. Your heart has to pump against gravity to get up there, so anything you raise above your heart is going to be harder for the blood to get up there, and again, the bleeding will slow down. So, and so I was telling her, raise your arm above your head and take some deep breaths and focus, and I'm going to, just walk you through that. So, eyebright is a great formula. This particular formula has golden seal in it, which is I really love. Golden seal is a natural antibacterial. So if you use something like that, and there are several high berberine containing herbs that exist in the plant kingdom that will act as a natural antibiotic. So that's barberry, that's golden seal, and that's Oregon grape. So if you have any of those on hand, those are great natural antibiotics. So you can use the powder. You can just pack the powder directly on where you cut that. Or you can use something that's in a tincture form. And like I said, it's great for your first aid kit because it never goes bad. It never expires. So it's eyebright, it's golden seal, and there's another one here called bayberry. Bayberry is a very strong astringent, and that also stops bleeding. So, and just as an aside, astringent herbs are really great in an eye formula because when you get pink eye, or when you get a weepy eye or allergy eye, you've got all this stuff running down your face, you want to dry that up. So that's what an astringent herb does. It dries up those secretions, it dries up the mucus and things like that. So, and that is a separate video you guys want to watch later on Facebook. I've got one on what I did when I scratched my cornea with a straw when I was in a car. And I used an eye wash with just a couple drops of this in an eye cup. Okay, one more remedy for stopping bleeding, and there's probably several others. This is lemon essential oil. So this is another Dr. Foster's essential. Sometimes the lemon essential oil will stop bleeding. Every once in a while I've known lavender to do put an antibiotic chemical on their finger or their toe or whatever you did. I like myrrh oil, especially for the skin, for a skin wound. This is another Dr. Foster's essential oil, and it is a great antibacterial. It kills a lot of things. So, and you put it on, it will disinfect that wound. Um, some other things. This one actually is already diluted, so sometimes people don't want to put a straight essential oil on their skin because it can burn. So with the myrrh oil, we already diluted it down. It's got some jojoba oil in there. We kind of had to do that because the myrrh oil, when we had it straight in the bottle, just neat like that, there was so much resin that would collect around the neck that people couldn't get their bottles open. So that's why we had to dilute down the myrrh oil. But the good news is it's diluted down, so you can use it on your face, you can use it on your skin, and unless you have super sensitive skin, it'll be fine for using on your skin. My favorite my favorite disinfectant for the skin is tea tree oil. I like tea tree oil. It works really well. You have to dilute that one down as well. It's a good anti-itch. It's a good antiviral, antibacterial, antifungal. So this one is Germ Shield, and it's really compact. So I like to put this in my purse sometimes because I also use this as protection against cold and flu viruses that are going around, including the dreaded one right now. So you put this a little bit in your nose or just beneath your nose, and it blocks any sort of infection from getting in. So this is a really important remedy. It's a good remedy if you have a rash, all of a sudden you get hives or you've got itching, something like that. And you can put this directly on a wound, okay? So some people are kind of afraid to put things on an open wound because they think like, oh, is it going to get infected? And the thing is, if you're relatively healthy, it's not. It just won't. It's like the first time you try to use, yes, you can use some of these things for a dog, some of those remedies. He got a heat blister on his jaw that popped. Yet I would try a little bit of Germ Shield on there. And if you have a small dog, just remember that an essential oil is very, very potent. So put the drop in the palm of your hand first, rub it together, and then whatever's left, put that on their paw, especially if they weigh like 10, 20 pounds. That's super small. You don't want to overwhelm them with a remedy that's super strong. You may actually just want to use like an herbal tincture. It's a little bit safer, like an echinacea golden seal. Okay, so which is, did we finish talking about the Germ Shield? Yeah, it's great for congestion too. If you're like really congested and you start sneezing and you don't want anybody to like suspect or something's wrong with you on the plane, then you can just put that in your nose and you will stop sneezing and it'll dry up the snot. So it's a great one for that. I know everybody's really afraid to cough right now when they're in public. So not every cough is a dangerous cough. So we have Echinacea Premium here. It's another Dr. Foster's Essentials. This is an Echinacea and Golden Seal extract. So like I mentioned before, Golden Seal is a natural antibiotic. It actually also kills viruses and some fungus as well. So if you use, and literally you just need like a couple drops. Just put it on the pad side of the Band-Aid, that white part. So just put it on there and just wrap it around and literally just forget about it for a while. And the good thing about the herbs, using essential oils, if you use a good remedy, if it's a good quality, the pain will go fast. You don't have to take like a painkiller or something like that, because a lot of these herbs have natural anodyne properties. And what that means is it kills pain. Your doctors don't know about this. They have no idea what it is. So if you ask a regular doctor about it, they're not going to know, unless they're one of those rare ones like me who left. Okay, so the Echinacea Premium would be good to stock in your medicine cabinet, and it's a great one to have there in case you do get sick, because if you treat a cold or a flu in the first 24 hours and you do something like this where you take one dropper every hour on the hour, usually the cold or the flu is only going to last about 5 hours. So that's the way it works for me. is you treat aggressively early at the first sign of symptoms, and boom, they're like, whatever happened to that 1 week long cold, it turned into like 1 day or less. So echinacea is amazing for killing infection. I have another blend called AV, and AV used to be called antiviral, and so I get a place to sit here so you guys can see me better. So antiviral has a little bit of oregano oil in there. It's not too much so that it burns. If you put oregano oil straight on the skin, it's going to burn a little bit. So I actually like to use a little bit of peppermint with the oregano oil, and then use something like a coconut oil. So you've got your coconut oil here. Wow, I did those blinds, and I thought I had closed them. So don't worry about something getting infected. Of course, you can look for those signs. The signs that it's infected would be that it gets red, it swells up, it starts to gather some pus there. If you are elderly, if you have diabetes, if you know you're one of those people that's immunocompromised, you can take some remedies internally as well. If you do a deep cut, you wouldn't want to treat just topically if you knew you were one of those people that had a weak immune system. Then you would want to do something like the echinacea formula, and you take it by mouth to make sure that there's no infection that gets into your bloodstream. Okay, so doctors would call that a sepsis, when an infection starts somewhere and then it spreads. So there's another video I did about a friend of mine that got cellulitis, and cellulitis is pretty dangerous. You can literally lose parts of your body if you go to the doctor, because they will cut away that infection. So we did that a little bit differently. We did oregano oil topically with the coconut. We did blood detox formula. So blood detox formula is another one that I like to use to cleanse your lymph. So if a cut has gotten really bad, if it's swollen up, if it's painful, if it's pussy, and you start to see a red streak go up your arm, that's when it's gone into your lymph, and it could possibly go into your blood. If you see that, you immediately take something like this, a blood detox, because it will go into your lymph and it will start healing that infection in your bloodstream. So it also has golden seal in there. It's got some other herbs in there that are blood cleansing herbs like chaparral. Oregon grape is also in there, and some other really good blood cleansing. Burdock root is really great, and that will really help cleanse your blood. Okay, some other questions. Your son's dance partner got her second shot. We took a 10-day break from her. Need to go back to training next week. Okay, so the biggest issue with the shots are the clots. You want to take some kind of enzymes to protect against that. You want something like blood detox, because if you're clotting too much, this one is a mild natural blood thinner, and it also will clean a lot of stuff out of your body. I like that one for anything intense or strong that happens to you. So any kind of really bad infection or something like that, I would do. Now, a lot of these shots, actually, they're magnetic. You may have seen people that stick a magnet on there. That substance that they put in there is designed to release slowly. So a lot of practitioners, including me, are recommending you put ice on that as soon as that happens. You will slow down the release of anything toxic that can get into your body while you get in your remedies like an echinacea formula or blood detox formula. If you have a really super toxic situation like that where somebody's poisoned, you go in and you do an enema right away. And you can take some colon cleansing herbs as well, like vibrant colon detox caps. I've saved people from radioactive dye and things that way just by doing the colon cleanse. And simple echinacea formula will work wonders. Okay, so I could change angles or something here. That thing is just gonna, oh, okay, this is a little bit better. Not by much. Okay, so there's another thing that I wanted to bring up, which is pine pitch. So this is sap, okay? So this is just an example of pine pitch, which is sticky, which you can use to glue a wound back together. So if you've cut something open, just put some sap in there and put it back. And then you want to use butterfly bandages. Okay, so the butterfly bandages look like little butterflies, and what you want to do is you want to put each bandage over the cut. So you'll put it on one side and you'll stretch it over, and you pull it really tight so that you are holding that wound closed, and that way it won't come apart. You keep, several of them if it's a long cut, and you'll put the herbs on top of there. So you'll disinfect the wound. You'll use something like Germ Shield or an echinacea formula or something like that. Okay, so what else? All right, you want to regrow. You want to regrow what happened there. It was a deep cut. You need to fill it in. This is something called a healing poultice. If you have comfrey tincture, so this is a different brand, but comfrey is an amazing herb. It will regrow things. Comfrey got a bad name about a decade ago. The FDA said, oh, there's some kind of alkaloid in there that will hurt your liver. It is completely false. Please do not listen to that information. I have been taking echinacea by mouth for many, many years. I have been using it topically. There is no problem with that. There is one research study that comes out of Europe that's about European comfrey, which has nothing to do with the American comfrey. And it's completely fine. If you've broken a lot of bones in your body, you can take this stuff by mouth. It will help the healing go faster. There is an aloe in Cayenne, the Dr. Foster's Cayenne, and this is a special aloe barbadensis miller that will help you heal up the skin. It's a special process so that it works really well. This one's got a spore biotic in it. So any of you are familiar with a spore biotic, it contains, what it does is it releases a very strong L+ lactic acid. And what that does is it kills infection. So we've used this on a lot of people that had MRSA, like the methicillin-resistant Staph aureus, and had them take the Flora G Plus by mouth, and it healed up their MRSA, even though the antibiotics had failed. So, like I said, I see people all the time who either fail the medical treatment or they just don't want to because they've been damaged before. Another good one is tissue repair. So tissue repair has got herbs that are specific for trauma. So arnica, St. John's wort, calendula, these are herbs that are specific for healing up damage. So if you've damaged yourself, if you've got a huge bruise, if you broke something, let's say you broke your ankle, you'd immediately, after you ice, elevate, and all of that stuff, start using this. Topically, you just need a few drops and put it on there, and do that several times a day, and those herbs will eventually help that area to heal. It'll stimulate it to happen a lot faster. Okay, bone tissue nerve is a formula that you can take by mouth. If you really did something bad, let's say you broke 5 bones in your body or something, you can speed up your healing a lot. I see this sometimes with people. They break a bone, it doesn't heal. It heals, it's a malunion or a misunion or something like that. They don't have the nutrition that they need to heal that wound. So if you've done something super, super bad, make sure that you're getting the nutrition. So this one is high mineral containing herbs. So horsetail, white oak bark, what else is in here? Oat straw. So these are really high in minerals. You take this by mouth so that your body has the minerals that it needs to regrow, heal those bones really fast, heal up that huge bruise or whatever you did to yourself. This is the new name for calcium from herbs. So calcium from herbs was the old name, and we changed it over to bone tissue nerve, even though it is the same formula. Oh my gosh, I think we've covered everything. Where do you get butterfly bandages? Any drugstore. Yeah, any drugstore. And a lot of people don't know, you can kind of use those like stitches. Just space them apart and just pull really tight. And if you have the pine pitch or the sap, pine sap, just put that sap in there and disinfect it, and then pull it shut, and then keep it that way. And if it's your knee, obviously do not bend your knee for a while, right? Okay, so what else do we have here? It's so quiet. Oh, well, I wish I would have seen that sooner. Probably because I didn't have my headphones in. Is that better? We might need to repeat the whole thing. Okay. Would NAC help until I get that in the mail? NAC is a good antioxidant, so it would help with a lot of things. I don't know that it stops bleeding, but it wouldn't hurt. Okay, what else? Okay, so we have a vaccine question. Okay. I think you mentioned the docu class that the cayenne powder was also good for a heart attack or a stroke. Yes, absolutely. So if that happens, what you do is you will take an enormous dose of that. So you'll take about 10 to 12 droppers full of the cayenne. So where are you, cayenne? Oh, here. Right. So a dropper is about this much. So what I do is I just squeeze the dropper twice really fast, and it kind of, it's not all the way filled up, right? But it's pretty full, and it's a huge dose, and it's a very dramatic dose. It's a very dramatic remedy for somebody that's having a heart attack or a stroke. If somebody's having a heart attack, the symptoms can vary a lot from chest pain, passing out, and with a stroke, you want to watch a face is drooping. One half doesn't match the other, and you get it in them as soon as possible, and they may not be fully aware of what you're doing, and at this point you cannot hesitate. If this is a loved one and they're having a stroke, you cannot hesitate. You cannot let them say no. You just say, drink this now, do it now, and it'll feel hot. It'll feel hot in their mouth, and they won't like it, but it will stop a stroke or a heart attack. You mentioned, okay, is there anything else? Can this work for dogs? Yes. Okay. Use the echinacea golden seal, or use the eyebrow. Both have golden seal in them, and that golden seal is such a great, amazing antibiotic. Okay, so when you're filling this stuff in, so you're doing like a healing poultice, you're regrowing the tissue, just keep applying it. Just keep applying it over and over and over until it's completely healed up. You may be amazed, like it just heals up, and you went, oh, I would have thought I would have needed stitches. Especially if it's on your face, you know, you really don't want a scar. And if you use like the fresh aloe vera leaf or the comfrey, you are way more likely to heal that thing up with a scar. If you use stitches, you're traumatizing the tissue every time you put a needle in and you do those stitches, right? So you're going to have even more swelling. You're going to have even more problems. You're going to have even more likely to get an infection. So the way the doctors do it, it will work. They will stitch you up, but you may be more likely to have complications, and you may be more likely to scar. So knowing the herbs that prevent the scarring, the aloe and the comfrey, are super, super important, especially if it happens on your face or any part of your body that you care about people seeing. Okay. Paw. All right, I'm just looking for any more questions. How long is the shelf life for the past two products? I'm not sure which ones you were talking about, but if you get any sort of alcohol tincture, and if it's just alcohol, so some products you'll see they have glycerin in them, and glycerin is a preservative, but it generally doesn't last as long as the alcohol tinctures do. I prefer the alcohol tinctures because they will last literally like 20 years or longer. So you can just, you know, put those in your kit and forget about it, and they'll still work literally 20 years later. The Cayenne G, the Cayenne G's got like a shelf life of 3 years, but the studies on that spore biotic basically show it only loses 3% potency per year. So that one could last for many years before it doesn't go bad. The number, or the millions of colony forming units in the spore biotic formula is so over the top that losing 3% potency over 10 years is really not that much compared to how much is in there. Anything else? A citrus essential oil is probably like 1 or 2 years. They are generally the most fragile essential oils. Some other oils can last for years. And even if you keep them in your car, even if they get a little hot, sometimes. So that's good. So let's see what else. So we've got shelf life. So bleeding stroke or blockage stroke for cayenne. Yes, either one. So cayenne is known to stop bleeding. It's also known to stop or help drive the circulation through a clot. So either or, that's what the amazing thing about cayenne is it's a circulation normalizer, right? So whatever the problem is, you balance it, right? Much better, thank you. Yeah, I'm so sorry you guys couldn't hear me. What type of alcohol is the carrier? It's a pharmaceutical grade alcohol. It's like a type of alcohol is the carrier. Alcohol is distilled, so it is naturally gluten-free. There's no gluten that can survive the distillation process. Is there a way to? Yes, absolutely. Hi, Patty. Send me a personal message. Okay, are all my products organic? Yes, absolutely. Most of them are from the US except for the essential oils. The essential oils are all tested by gas chromatography. They are at high therapeutic grade. Because I work with sick patients, I use the absolute highest quality that I can get. We're not fooling around when somebody has a heart attack, right? So it has to be the absolute best quality. Should you use only one full dropper of the cayenne during a stroke? Like I said, you can try and see. Try one dropper and see what happens. If they're unresponsive, you're going to have a hard time getting it in them. So you may be putting it in their cheek. I did this once with a guy who was having a seizure. And he was having the seizure, and I had my Peaceful Nerves formula, and I put it in his mouth, and suddenly he just stopped moving. And I'm like, oh, he's passed out. The seizure stopped, but he passed out. So I'm like, he's passed out. We have to get some formula in his mouth. And so I have my friend who was there with me, and he's like, okay, he was pulling his mouth apart so we could get the cayenne in. And as soon as we did it, you'll be so amazed at what cayenne will do. Within like a minute, it took like 1 minute. This guy was completely unresponsive. He just literally, like, he was sitting in the passenger side of my car. He literally opened the door and stood straight up without blinking. He went from unresponsive to standing up, and it was because he had a mouthful of cayenne. So if you think anybody's going to pass out, if you think somebody's having a heart attack or a stroke, that is a very strong remedy. Okay, somebody wants to be in the video, and I appreciate you, my sweet friend. Oh, you're welcome. Okay, can you help a kiddo with autism? Yes. So each child with autism is different. It's a neurologic injury, heavy metals, and it does happen as an after effect of those shots. So you do need to detox the heavy metals. There are some cases that have parasites, so parasite cleanse can also help those kids as well. I use the medical intuition. So if I have a session with that child, I can look inside their body and I can see what's out. And I can also test doses. I have like a muscle testing thing that I do, and I'll feel out the dose and how long you need to do it. And I can clear some energy patterns as well. Grounding. I love using grounding for autism because those are oils that help they help brain function, and it can help somebody calm down. Okay, a kiddo with autism. Yes, their colon often their digestion is disturbed. So you gotta, sometimes there's candida overgrowth, and where's that Can-G? So Can-G, I know we use that with a lot of people a lot of kids that have autism. You kill the yeast, and sometimes it really changes their behavior. And it's amazing because it's like when you don't feel well, when you got something physically wrong with you, you can act kind of, wild and crazy. So how through message, Facebook message. Okay. All right. That looks like the last question here. And I may need to do this again since I don't think I'll be able to post this on my website since the sun is directly in my face. Any more questions before I go about anything at all? Any health health issue, health problem whatsoever. Okay. All right. If you guys have any questions, post them or personal message me on Facebook, and I'll try to get to as many as many of you as I can. All right. So sorry about the funny face here today. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate your attention and all of your love and support. I love you guys so much. Okay. Bye, guys.